I'm with the Money and Pension Service, Partnerships Manager for Wales at the Money and Pension Service. I'll refer to us as MAPS as we go along, okay? And Lauren and the Wellbeing team at the HR at WJC's asked me to come along today. They're doing kind of a well-being kind of initiative over the past 2 weeks, I think, with work. And this comes after really our kind of big annual campaign last week. I don't think I sat down once last week. It was our Talk Money Week, our big kind of annual campaign last year. Again, just encouraging people, to open up a bit about money. That could be with anyone, with their friends, family, with their colleagues, any organizations you work with or support, and it's always held during the first week of November. So just that was the key one last week. It's got different themes every year, and this year's theme, quite a nice simple one, just start the conversation. For once, I think it sounds better in Welsh. Dechrau'r sgwrs in Welsh as well, because we just want people to feel comfortable talking about money a bit more openly, with confidence. And the key thing, I was telling everyone last week, money conversations, they don't need to be perfect or polished. The key thing, they just need to happen, and where to go to get that kind of information to follow up on things as well. That's what we'll discuss today, about how the Money and Pension Service, our services, Money Helper, can help. And then later on, we'll touch upon quite a common subject, weirdly, these days, understanding our pay slips. And we'll discuss that later on as well. So hopefully, I say hopefully, but maybe not. Hopefully you have heard of who the Money and Pension Service is, what we do. But if not, don't worry. We are still relatively new, started back in 2019. Essentially, we're an arm's length body of the government. We're sponsored by the DWP, not through taxes such, but, every year, these large pension funds or large insurance companies, they have to pay levies to the DWP, and then part of those levies are used to fund MAPS then, because I guess back the government realised, financial literacy, financial well-being throughout the UK is not where it needs to be. There's a lot of improvements that needs to happen, especially comparing brilliant countries, usually the Scandinavian countries. They are leading the way when it comes to this, starting much earlier. So again, there's good practice out there. What does that look like? Can we replicate it? Can we do things in our own way? But just trying as we can to boost financial well-being across the nation. My remit, of course, is just within Wales. There's no magic pill, is there? But just little bits we can do just to help boost that as well. And the sole reason we were set up, you can see there, it's just to help people. That's the only reason why we were set up, especially those who really need it maybe the most to improve their kind of well-being, their financial well-being. It's clear from talking to people, especially on the helplines and stuff, it's clear a lot of people may have, good financial literacy, or their financial well-being is far greater than average. They're on a good track there, or maybe people can pay for good regulated financial advice. But where do most of us go to get that kind of free, impartial information just to set us on our way? That's why we want to develop that Money Helper, or Helpwr Arian in Welsh, as the place to go for that free and impartial information. Now, we work across these 5 core functions within MAPS. You can see there, the clue's in the name, the Money and Pension Service. So a lot of what we do is helping the people's understanding and knowledge of financial matters, the day-to-day money management skills. Pensions, of course, a subject close to my heart. I was previously a pensions advisor before I joined MAPS. But again, you can contact us for literally any question you may have on the state pension, your own workplace pension, any private pensions you got, any old pensions. Give us a ring. We can answer anything about pensions as well. In orange, debt advice becoming more and more of a hot topic throughout the UK. So again, we can provide information where people can get, free, impartial information, no judgment, to help them deal with unexpected events. Of course, we want people to know where to go at appropriate times. We don't want things spiraling out of control. That's the key thing there with debt. So the earlier people can get help, the much better off they'll be longer term. In red, you can see there, consumer protection. You can't turn on the TV or the radio or maybe have a scroll on your phone these days without hearing some sort of financial crime or scam taking place. So we work with the likes of different government departments, the likes of the Financial Conduct Authority there, again, to help protect consumers as best as we can. We've got a dedicated team, a dedicated helpline that people can contact us very informally just to kind of sound things out. Does this sound right? What do you think about this? So we can help people there. So again, wherever there's money involved, there'll be someone wanting to take advantage of us. There's sharks out there, so just be wary of those. And then strategy, we work with all sorts of organizations, small and large, with the likes of, we're working with WJC, because obviously HR and the organization want to help their own staff. So again, we help focus the efforts throughout the UK with organizations just to try and boost financial well-being as best as we can. As I said, there is no magic pill, but little things we can do. Hopefully, it'll be a bit of a snowball effect going forwards. Now, we're talking about financial well-being. I mean, it sounds a bit woolly in a way, doesn't it? A bit aspirational. Okay, this is just our definition of what financial well-being is: making the most of our money day to day, dealing with the unexpected, being on track for a healthy future. I mean, I'm sure you're like me, it's a given. I would love more money in my pocket every month. Okay, that's a given. But it's being, as it says there, making the most of what we've already got. Financial resilience, that's the key one. I'm looking outside the weather today, this another storm or a lot of rain coming. This time last year, if you remember, there was a big storm, I think this time last year. I had a number of tiles fly off the roof. Our boiler in the house broke down the same week. It was an expensive time, expensive winter, so building that resilience to deal with these unexpected events, and again, building people's confidence around talking openly about money. What does so-and-so mean? What does this term mean? Where can go for that information to help me on my particular subject or my kind of journey I'm on, and the key thing, we can't tell people what to do. So I'm not here to say, look, company X is the best pension provider on the market. I may have that opinion, but I can't give it out because we're not regulated. We have to be totally impartial. So again, we empower people. We give them the right information to hopefully make the best decisions for themselves. That's the key thing that we do. Within the workplace, of course, we've seen now that money worries, that's probably the biggest cause of stress for UK employees at the moment. It can be damaging for businesses too. So, the case for financial well-being in work, especially, it is quite compelling, really. So some simple stats here, so you see 70% now of employees are worrying more and more about money and causing them stress. Over 3/4 there, you can see, are negatively impacted by, obviously, the continuing cost of living squeezes that we're struggling as well. And what we see, they don't tend to tell their employee if they are struggling with things. There's kind of this stigma attached to it, for some reason. So where do they go, to help them out, as a vent, to get information? That's why we want people to use Help Arian, use Money Helper as that go-to place. Not selling anything, just providing that factual information just to help them on their journey there. Hopefully you have maybe used Money Helper in the past. I mean, I'm biased, of course. I'm going to say that Money Helper is fantastic. I work for the Money and Pension Service, okay? But I actually used Money Helper and its predecessors before I joined the Money and Pension Service in my previous role. There's loads of information on there. They've laid it out in a nice, easy way. A lot of the information you can get different places. No, you're recording now, so I can't say too much, okay, Lauren? But there's a lot of this information you can get from different places, maybe other, government kind of departments. But sometimes I've got to take a deep breath when I'm trying to look for information, because this can be a bit of a maze to get what I want. They have done so much work. It's such kind of an easy to use tool, the Money Helper tool. Very intuitive as well. When he was going into it, you can see here all the topics along the top. You click into it, brings out drop down boxes. You can toggle between Welsh and English. Everything we do is all bilingual. They've even done the Welsh bit as well. Really easy to understand as well. And if people can't actually find, right, from clicking on the bits with the information they need, the search bar facility is really good. You can type in a few letters, few words, and it'll bring up usually the hits of that information that you are looking for as well. And do you know what? Sometimes people just want to have a chat. They may have kind of read something, or do you know, I don't want to speak to an expert on something. You can just click talk to us live on the right there, and it'll bring up a list of different numbers for the particular subject that you are looking for as well. And you can just give us a ring as well. You know, people do like that contact, speaking with a real person as well. We've got, of course, a variety of these blogs updated on a daily or weekly basis as well, covering a range of these personal finance topics. You know, they're designed again to provide that general financial guidance, things like budgeting, you know, debt management, savings, pensions, loads more. And again, the way they're written, nice, accessible, practical way, which makes them useful for people looking to improve maybe their financial literacy or get answers to specific questions. Now, maybe you're like me, you know, eagerly anticipating what will the next budget announce, for example, you know, and in a couple of weeks' time now. So again, you can be guaranteed that whatever changes do happen, we'll update the Money Helper website. We'll probably have blogs on what this and that means following the budget very soon, usually the next day after that as well. So I mentioned, okay, everything we do is totally free and impartial. These are just a selection, you know, of the type of free printed guides that you can order. You can download electronic copies. You can order hard copies of these as well. This is just a small selection here. I'll send a copy of these slides out to Lauren after today as well. So you'll have a link of where to find all this information. So don't worry about taking notes or anything like that. But the link is there. As an example then, you know, so bottom left, okay. So this, unfortunately, is a very popular one at the moment, especially for some people I'm dealing with down in South Wales. Still a lot of uncertainty going on around the Tata Steel. So people want to know their rights down there. We've seen a lot of issues going on with maybe third sector university sectors these days, funding issues, a lot of uncertainty going on there. We're working with a lot of unions just to make sure that people know their rights in times of unexpected events. Okay, we want people to know what they're entitled to, where to get help as well. So that's just an example, you know, of the types of this free printed guides that people can get from us as well. I mentioned debt advice earlier on. We've got, you know, loads of these different tools and calculators on Money Helper, one of which is this debt advice locator tool that you can stick in your postcode. And it'll bring up a list of free debt kind of agencies that can help you close to you as well. So again, proving a popular tool. And I am lucky, I get to see behind the scenes as to which tools and calculators the people of Wales are using at the moment. That's one that's becoming more kind of common, more popular, that debt advice one at the moment. But we've got so many of these tools and calculators that do cover all eventualities or queries. Personally, I'm even using it a lot at home now. My 18-year-old, he's left school in the summer. He's started his first job. He's asking loads of questions. He obviously wants to buy a car now as well. So I said, well, do you know how much it costs, first of all? You know, the real costs of running things. And he didn't have a clue. So I said, look, we've got this brilliant car cost calculator on Money Helper. Have a go and have a look at that then. So he had to go and he came back, oh, Dad, I don't think I'll be buying a car. Well, I said, well, I know you won't, but because you're so expensive. It just gives people the real costs of things just to help them, you know, in their queries. He's even maybe thinking of maybe moving in with some friends. He thinks everything's happening in Cathays or Roath. That's where the life's happening for him, he thinks. So we've got tools and calculators on the real costs of things. He even asked me how long a tub of flora would last if he lived alone. I said, well, look, I can't answer with things like that. Everything else we can help with, but not that, okay? But there's just to highlight the types of information on all the tools and the calculators we've got just to help people navigate their work, their benefits, and a whole host more of things as well. And of course, I can't do justice to Money Helper by just talking about it for 10, 15 minutes. So I would urge people, have a go at it. I think, you know what, they like me talking about Money Helper and the tools and calculators because look, I'm not technically savvy at all. And if I can use them, anybody can use them as well. This one, we've revamped this as well, the benefits calculator. In conjunction, we're working a lot with the Welsh Government. They've got this Claim What's Yours initiative going on at the moment, because it's a staggering figure, but there's in Wales alone, there's over £2 billion worth of support and help and benefits going unclaimed every year. You know, it's a crazy amount. So again, we've developed this benefits checker. It's a simple tool. It asks you 6 simple questions, and it does from there, it puts you on the journey of potential support money that people are maybe missing out on. It's not just for those maybe struggling or those out of work. I was doing a similar talk for Housing Association in Bridgend recently, and their HR manager was in the room. He was typing away behind the scenes, and he actually stood up. He was missing out on some child-related benefits himself. You know, someone who was in work, quite well paid as well. So there's benefits going unclaimed out there, and again, the government, they want people to claim what's theirs. Why is there stigma about claiming? If someone's entitled to it, why not claim it if they can have it? As an example, okay, of what's going unclaimed, for example, of support and benefits, these child trust funds. Do you remember these? They were vouchers for at least £250 given to the carers or the parents of every baby born between 2002 and January 2011, between those windows there. And what we are seeing now is that the babies then, of course, are now turning into young adults. And on average, these vouchers, they were for at least £250, as I said. So these vouchers now are maturing, and they're worth, on average, at least around that £2,000 mark on average, okay? And we're seeing there's billions of pounds worth of these vouchers going unclaimed as well. You can see there, over £7.5 billion are throughout the UK. What happened at the time? Say if the parents or the carers of the time, they had maybe a screaming baby going on, and there were other things going on in their life. If the parents or carers didn't do anything with that voucher for 6 months, the government would have automatically invested that child trust fund for that kid and held it there for them until they turned 18, and as they are doing now. I thought myself, I'm quite financially savvy. I remember having those vouchers for my children. By the way, my son has spent his money already. He's gone. But my daughter, she's only 15, so she knows about it as well. But I forgot that in Wales, the Welsh government gave an extra sum, a small sum of money on top of the UK one. So, and I totally forgot about that. So I've used these tracing tools recently just to track down those 2 lots of small payments for my kids as well. And it does work. So I've proved this myself. It does work. So there is some money out there for people maybe. So if you know people maybe in similar positions, young people or people with kids born during that time, tell them about this. We want people to claim if they're entitled to them as well. Same goes with this kind of initiative called Help to Save. I don't know if you've heard about this. Again, proving very popular. It was due to end in April this year, but it's proving so popular that they have extended it for a couple of years as well. And essentially, it allows people maybe on low incomes or receiving these tax credits, as you can see there. It allows them, again, people may be struggling to save if they can, of course, if they can afford to. You can save up to £50 a month into one of these Help to Save accounts. And for every pound that you save, the government would give you 50p, like a 50% bonus on top. So if someone manages to save £50 a month for 4 years, that's £2,400. So they could get an extra £1,200 on top of that as well. So again, there is some just bits out there. So again, spread that message far and wide. We can't keep it to ourselves. We want people to know about things as well. So those are kind of just some of the bits about maps and Money Helper, what help there is out there as well. So again, I would urge people, have a go and looking online. There's loads of information there on Money Helper as well. But going on to the next part, I guess, of today's webinar is about understanding our pay slips. Now, we've had loads of, I don't know where it's come of all of a sudden as well. We've had loads of queries from organizations about this topic of late as well. It's very appropriate for me as well. You know, at home, my son, as I mentioned, he left school, he started work now. I thought I'd done a better job with him, you know, raising him. But his payslip, he didn't have a clue about what all the deductions were, or what the codes were, or what the figures meant. So I had to sit down with him. So it's quite fresh in my mind as well now. So again, and for me, I remember my first ever payslip. I was working as a summer job back in Ashburnham Golf Course near Llanelli, back in the summer of '92. That sounds like a Bryan Adams song, doesn't it? But I remember that. And my first payslip was actually like a brown envelope with physical money inside. It was for, I remember, £61.50 for a week's pay. And I remember thinking, why aren't I having all of it then? Because there was some national insurance deductions being taken off from that. But obviously that's going back a while there. But again, you know, whether someone's first pay slip or been working for years, people may be unsure about some of the things shown on certain pay slips there. Now, this, you probably, hopefully, all familiar with the format. This is a redacted version of a recent payslip by a member of staff at Quebec. Now, all employees, right, we're all workers, we're entitled to an individual and detailed written payslip, okay? Either on payday or maybe usually just before as well. As I said, historically, they were paper pay slips, okay, but we don't have to have a paper one these days. It's typically sent via email, or maybe you access it through your intranet or something like that in work. And the right up to a pay slip, it applies to casual staff as well as employees as well, but it doesn't, things like people like independent contractors or people working freelance, they don't, there's no legal requirement for them to have a pay slip. Okay, so see on the top there, I'll break it down in a bit more detail going forwards. But a pay slip, as you can see, the top kind of section, it'll usually show your personal details and typically maybe a space for some messages there. That messages box typically on a pay slip is a space for your employer to maybe communicate some important information to you. Things like maybe explaining a pay rise, maybe announcing some company policies, or maybe just providing updates on tax and pension matters. Okay, so that's the typical reason why that messages box is there as well. Okay, but if you break it down, so you can see I've just taken off the top kind of bit there just to make it a bit bigger so people can see things now, and broken it down into these different sections. So the first one, if you can't, let's cover the personal details section of a typical pay slip, which is a lot of information shown here. Of course, your name, your employee number is all individual to yourselves. Your national insurance number, that's all kind of, people aren't sure how your national insurance is obtained, but it's automatic actually. If you're born and resident in the UK, when you turn 16, you automatically get it. Those who move to the UK have to apply for their national insurance number themselves. But you can see that NI, national insurance category there with that letter A there. Now that is a key one. It determines how your national insurance contributions are calculated. A is the most common one. That's the most common category. It's basically for standard employees aged between 21 and state pension age. Okay, so you would be typically on national insurance category A if you're between 21 and state pension age. There are other categories as well for maybe other circumstances. Category M is for those under 21. C is for those over state pension age because they don't have to pay national insurance contributions once you reach your state pension age. And then you may see H for apprentices as well. So there are different categories there dictating how much they should be deducted. Underneath there, you see pay method, BACS/FPay. So basically, this indicates that you've been paid via electronic bank transfer. BACS simply stands for Bankers Automated Clearing Services. It's an old term now. It's a UK system for these direct payments. It can take up to 3 days generally for BACS payments to go through. So that's why WJC, they use kind of combination of BACS and FPay, faster payments. That's all that means. It's kind of near instantaneous. It's kind of an alternative also used for electronic transfers, because on payday, you want to receive your money on payday. You don't want to wait 3 days afterwards. So that's why organizations use the FPay, the faster payments method as well. On the right-hand side, there's a pay date. That'll be kind of different there. The tax code. This is the key one, of course, isn't it? This tells your employer, this tells WJC how much you can earn before you're taxed by, by the government. So it's a code. This code is provided directly by HMRC. It's not, determined by WJC. They typically get a code sent to them, to the payroll, every month with your tax code on it. And I check this. Maybe I'm a bit weird in a way. I go through my payslip every month, with a fine tooth comb just in case. And I always check that this tax code that's shown on my monthly slip matches up with the information held on HMRC. And they've actually got a new, and I have to give them credit, it's a very good app. The new HMRC app is available in Welsh and English. Historically, you have to kind of go on, you can still go on to your government gateway, but it takes a bit of time. The app is straight there. A lot of the information, all your tax codes and everything is just on your phone, basically, on a tablet. So it's a really easy way to have a look to see how much your employer is, are they matching up, for example, okay? Now, these tax codes, most of them starts with a number, okay, which essentially, right, is your tax-free allowance divided by 10, okay? For example, most of us, I say most of us, there are differences, of course. Most of us would have a tax code of 125L, right? So that basically means that 1257L would be a typical one for most of us. And that essentially, that 1257, that means you're subject to the standard personal allowance of 12,570. So that's how much you can earn every tax year before any tax is deducted from you. The L, that's the key word, just indicates your entitlement to the personal allowance, okay? And it confirms there's no special circumstances attached to you, okay? For us in Wales, if you're working in Wales, before that 1257, you'd probably have the prefix C. It stands for Cymru. So that basically means that your income is taxed using Welsh rates, with the tax revenue going to the Welsh government. Now, it's not kind of it is well-known fact, but yeah, Wales does have its own tax-raising powers. But so far, the Senedd haven't set anything different. They've followed how the tax is set across England and Northern Ireland. Scotland have got their totally different tax rates set up. There's loads of different tax rates in Scotland, but they've got their own powers. But at the moment, they're following how England are setting up their tax rates. So England and Wales currently have got the same tax rates, but knowing that the Senedd have got powers potentially in the future there. Some people may see a tax code starting with the letter BR, maybe. That just means you're not getting your tax-free basic personal allowance. So all your income is being taxed at the basic rate of 20%. And that typically can happen if your employer hasn't got all the information they need about you. If you're starting work for the first time, if you may have 2 jobs, for example, HMRC has to allocate the personal allowance to one job, but you wouldn't get in on the second one, for example. Okay, so that's what we would check your tax code on a monthly basis. I personally do. Underneath then the tax period 07, that just means tax year. So April is month 1. So April, May, June, July, August. So this is 24th of October. That's month 7. That's all that means. October is the 7th month of the tax year. And then the bottom one, tax reference, it typically refers to your own, to WJC's PAYE, pay as you earn reference number. It's a unique identifier used by HMRC just to identify your employer and just to allocate the correct tax there as well. So that's all that means. So that covers that first bit with a lot of personal information on that personal details section there as well. I mentioned that app, the HMRC app. Have a look at it. It's really good. I would give them give them credit on that. There's a lot of information there available both in Welsh and English. But back to your payslip, the payments and allowance section of your payslip. So this it details all the income that you've earned during this particular month, okay, before any deductions are made. So your gross income, your gross salary, okay. The key components of it is obviously you'd be having a look at your salary. So say if someone is earning £24,000 a year, you would expect that to show £2,000 in that particular month. 24 divided by 12 is that £2,000 there, okay. Other bits you would expect to say, this employee, of course, is doing extra responsibilities. They're a mental health first aider in work. There's an allowance for them for that as well. So this section would just show any kind of money that you are receiving, be that payments, your wages, any bonuses, any commission people are having as well. Okay, so that's all that's showing there, your gross before deductions. And going on to deductions, then the other side of the payslip there, these are basically, it shows all the money being taken from your gross pay. And these common ones, again, they're shown there, to be honest with you. Your income tax, your national insurance, pension contribution, student loan in this case. Other maybe common ones can include like maybe loan repayments, if you've had a loan repayment from work, CSA, maybe court ordered payments, for example, as well. So they would be typically shown on this deduction section of your pay slip there as well. And you see that NI category A goes back then to the top, refers back there as well. LGPS just stands for the local government pension scheme that this that this worker is a member of, paying 6.8% of their salary there. And then obviously the important figure for all of us, what we're looking out for, that net pay figure is the amount we get after all deductions has been made from your gross pay, and that should tally up with what's paid into your bank account every month then as well. But some other bits on the bottom of your pay slip, you may have seen that cumulatives information. They are quite typical on a UK pay slip. It refers to your year-to-date totals of all of your pay, all of your deductions. It's calculated at the beginning of this tax year. Starts on the 6th of April every year, and it goes from there up to the current pay period, in this case up to the end of October. And it's there. The cumulative system ensures that your tax-free personal allowance, so obviously the amount that you can earn before tax, it's spread evenly across the year. So makes it a bit easier for people to budget as well. And if people do overpay tax in 1 month, for example, if you've had a period of maybe not working, this cumulative system will automatically give you the tax refund by reducing your deductions in subsequent months as well. So that's the main reason of that cumulative section of the payslip there. And then obviously as well at the bottom right, so whilst some contributions are typically made automatically, they don't always appear directly from your payslip. But I've got to say that they do cover a lot of basis here. Would even say that the layout of your payslip is even better than what we've got, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's often you find a summary of both your and your employer's contributions, your national insurance and pension contributions, recorded in this section of your payslip. So in this example here, WGAC records its own employer national insurance deductions, which have increased since April of this year for all employers, and also in the month in question as well. So, it's not always visible on your payslip, but it's an important part of your total compensation as well, of course. So that's why that is shown on your payslips there as well. But the key thing about it's just the start really of taking control of your finances. Understanding someone's payslip. It goes from there, doesn't it? I said maybe I'm a bit weird, but I check it with a fine-tooth comb every month. It helps you spot any errors, track your earnings growth. You can even plan for the future. If you think you're not paying too much tax, don't bury your head. Don't be an ostrich and bury your head in the sand. Tell someone, because they will find out. HMRC, they're like a dog with a bone. They don't let go of things as well. And if you're considering a career move, we can use things. We've got all these tools that calculate a salary checker on Money Helper, and it's proof of your hard working as well. So make sure you're getting everything that you're entitled to. As you said, so we've got a brilliant section on Money Helper. Again, revised recently because we've had so many queries on this subject. So have a look under the work section on Money Helper, understanding your payslip. There's more meat on the bone to add to what I've been talking about today as well. So again, going back to just finishing things off with Money Helper, we can help with any kind of money and pension subject, from talking to kids about pocket money all the way to the other end, talking about pensions, setting up power of attorneys, or discussing wills as well. So we can help with any kind of format when it comes to kind of money and pension guidance. So this last slide, I'll send all these out to Lauren after today anyway. So but it just highlights the ways you can contact us. Pensions on the left, money guidance on the right. Sometimes during the year, right, we are going to be busy. Maybe the phone lines may be busy. Typically, end of tax year, people are planning things. Or I don't know if you all watch the Martin Lewis program on a monthly basis. Whenever he's on, if he mentions Money Helper, the phone lines go crazy the next day as well. So, but what we guarantee, if the lines are busy, just leave us a message, and we actually guarantee to ring you back on that number as well, which is a bit different to maybe other government departments as well. Okay, so again, we know there's loads of information out there. It can be a bit daunting, looking into financial matters, but there's help out there, and that's the key thing. There's never anything such as a silly question. So if you do need anything, please get in touch with us as well. So that was the last slide there. But if anyone's got any questions, please, if you want to stop recording and someone wants to shout any questions out, feel free to do so.